welcome to Stephanie Uncensored. So it's the end of the year and so many things have happened. It's been a great year. So this is my 2016 sort of recap on reflection of the goals that I set for 2016 to see if I actually set them. So let's just get into what my goals actually were. I actually looked back on my old video to see sort of where I was and everything like that in making videos, and let's just say I think I've come a long way. I really do. So my 2016 goals that I did back in January of 2016, and if you want to check that video out, please go through my videos and check it out. But the goals were read 150 books, 150 new books, read 2 new genres outside of romance, go to a book signing, meet an author that I have totally fangirled over, stick with YouTube for the entire year, participate in a YouTube challenge or event, and participate in the 2016 Goodreads challenge. So how did I do this year? Check on reading 150 books, and I'll tell you exactly how many in my 2016 year in review book end of the year book video, which won't be up by the time I put this one up, so I can't tag it in here or link it, I'm sorry. But just be on the lookout for that one. I did read 2 new genres outside of romance, which again, I will make sure that I note that in that video for the 2016 wrap up. And I went to 4 book signings this year. And as you can see, I have a sign for each one of them. It was SAS in Norfolk, Virginia. I went to Sign and Sip in Huntley, Virginia. I went to Lovely Ladies and Naughty Books in Washington, D.C. And then finally the last one, and actually that was out of order, but the last one that I went to was Indies Invade Philly in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Awesome. That was my first event that I went to, and I actually stayed the entire weekend, did a meet and greet, and also went to the signing, and then came back. It was a great weekend. Awesome weekend. Awesome. So, get a big old check for that one. Meet an author that I totally fangirled over. Yeah. Totally met the one that I was looking forward to, which was Alethea Roman, and met and totally continued to fangirl over so many other authors. Carrie Haywood, Corinne Michaels, R.K. Lilly, Mariah Dietz, gosh, the list, M.R. Joseph, the list could go on and on and on. 4 signings, that is so many authors. I got to meet so many beautiful authors that write beautiful books. And in my year in review book video, I decided to do a top 15, and do you know how difficult that was? Oh my goodness, so difficult to actually pick. So you get to see my dilemma when you watch that video, and hopefully you'll watch that video. So did I stick with YouTube all year long? Yes, I did. I really did. I now have 200 videos up there, I guess, or so. I think that's how many it says I have, or but I've stuck with it. And there were a couple weeks where I didn't do videos, so I hope in my 2017 goal video, that will probably be one of my goals for next year, is to make sure that I stick to my schedule, which I'm back. So I've gotten crazy, and I have schedules, and I have books, and to keep journals or whatever, to keep everything straight. So yep, check on that one. Big fat check on that one. Participate in a YouTube challenge or event. Unfortunately, I don't really think I did do that. But hey, I had a full year. When I go over my TBR goals that I had planned for last year as well, so big check there. And participate in the 2016 Goodreads Good Reading Challenge. Just wait a couple more seconds and you get to hear all about that one. So, on to my 2016 TBR Goal jar. My pretty little, my little daisy over there. So, I'm just gonna run through them because if you watch the other video, you know what the goals are, and I'm gonna tell you which books I read for those goals. So, my 2016 TBR Jar Goals were the following. In January, it was read a fantasy book, and I read The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. February's goal was to read a book that I placed on my read later list, and I read The Martian by Andy Weir. March goal was read a book someone recommended to me, recommended for me to read, and that was Art and Seduction by Elaine Radley. April was read a book with a red cover, and that was Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. May did not have a TBR goal because April and May ran together. You'll see in my wrap up that I did April and May together. June was read a classic romance, and I didn't complete that one. I just didn't have time. I took a couple books out of the library to try and read that, but Sense and Sensibility, Persuasion, and Pride and Prejudice. Never got them read for some reason. Just didn't happen. Didn't happen for me. July was read a book set in Ireland, so I read The Accident Season by Moira Fowley-Doyle. August was read a military book, and I read Stark September by C.D. Bradley. September was read a book by an author with the last name that starts with a P, so I read Discography book set. Yes, book set, and that is the album, the ballad, and the love letters by Ashley Pullo. For October, I also included October's read with September's read because Discography book set. October is read a book that deals with mental health, and I read Discography, included it with September's. It's a bundle book, so there were 3 books, well, 2 books and a novella, so I got to include that one there. November was to read a book about space, and that book was No White Knight. It's a book of 2 short stories. One of the short stories, The Paladin Slave by Alta Hensley, is a book about space. And then finally, December's goal was to read a popular book for the current month. Unfortunately, I got super sick in the month of December and was unable to actually, and quite a few arcs that I had to get taken care of. So the arcs came before my TBR goal, so unfortunately I didn't get to finish it. So those were my TBR 2016 TBR goals, and if you've read any of those books, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys thought about the books. A lot of them are not necessarily romance books, so they were outside of my genre, which totally helped me check off that block of read at least 2 new books outside of my genre that I normally read. Like The Martian. Doesn't have any romance in it whatsoever. The Martian. And let's see, what other one? There was another one on here. The Accident Season. It had a small romance to it, but that wasn't the point of the book at all whatsoever. So I can definitely say that by doing this TBR Jar Goals, I got to check off, one of my main goals for the year. So that's pretty exciting. I'm excited about that. Let me know in the comments if you guys have read any of those and what you thought about them. Now on to the 2016 Goodreads challenge. It was a challenge that was I found on Goodreads, and it had 50, well actually it had 2 tiers, and you could do either 32 books or 52 books. With the categories, you had 9 wild cards if you did the 52 books. But I'm just going to go through these. They're quite in depth. So I'll just give you what the category was and what book I read, and then I might pop in some of the book covers at the end, or you may be seeing them as I go through with reading them. So I might just read them slow and then pop the book covers in. Yeah. So, we have North America. I read Nowhere But Here by Renee Carino. For South America, I read Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. For Africa, I did not complete. For Antarctica, Where Did You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple. For Europe, Fallout by Sadie Jones. For Asia, I read Keeping London, Flawed Hearts No. 2 by Ellie Wade. For Australia, I read The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty. A banned book or challenged book, I read The Color Purple by Alice Walker. An award-winning book, Pulitzer, Hugo, Man Booker, etc. I read We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. For a memoir, autobiography, bibliography, I read Furiously Happy, a funny book about horrible things by Jenny Lawson. A Dead Author's Last Book, I did not complete. A book with LGBT matter or characters, I read I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. A book your favorite author loves, I did not complete. For a retold fairy tale, I read Cinder, Lunar Chronicles No. 1 by Marissa Meyer. For a young adult book, I read The Edge of Always by J.A. Remersky. A history book, fiction or nonfiction, I read Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. A book where you have seen the movie but not read the book, I read The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Nefernan. A book on the New York Times bestsellers list, I read The Lucky One by Nicholas Sparks. A book with a point of view of an immigrant, I read Brooklyn by Colum Toblin. A controversial book, I read The Giver by Lois Lauer. The first book you see when you walk into the library or a bookstore, I read Rush, Breathless No. 1 by Maya Banks. A classic, I read Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. For a debut novel, I read The Lifestyles of the Rich and Infamous by Tierney Fowler. For published this year, 2016, Anything But Minor by Kate Stewart. Read a book based entirely on the cover, I read The Anatomy of Jane, WJM Duet No. 1 by Amelia Lafley. Own but never read, I read Better by Carrie Haywood. A book by an author you never read before, I read City Beautiful by C.M. Foss. For a book recommended by a friendly librarian, I didn't complete that one. A book by a Nobel Prize winner, I read The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. For mythology, not just Greek, I read The Orchard Book of Roman Myths by Geraldine McClanner. A book written by someone born the same year as you, I read Discography, the book set, the box set, the album, the ballad, the love letters by Ashley Pullo. I read A Dystopian, which was Divergent No. 1 by Veronica Roth. I reread reread a favorite book, The Edge of Never by J.A. Remersky. A book about books, Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I did not finish it. I DNF'd it. Book published the year you graduated from high school, I read The Runaway Jury by John Grisham. Child, teen, someone younger that loves you than you loves. I read Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Cabin Fever by Jeff Kinney. A book about or set by the sea, I read The Accident Season by Moira Fowler-Doyle. A book by two authors, written by two authors. When Fall Breaks by Julie Solano and Tracy Justice. A book from your own state, province, or country. I read Finding London, Flawed Hearts #1 by Ellie Wade. A book about a trip, road cruise around the world. I read When in Doubt by Emily Hemmer. A book with the name of a person in the title. I read Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. Science fiction, I read The Martian by Andy Weir. Fantasy, I read The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. And on to the wild cards. So, these are the fun ones because I could read anything. So, I made up my own categories, and these are the ones that I read. So, my Ugly Cry was Brightside by Kim Holder. My advanced reader copy was Say You'll Stay by Corinne Michaels. My most anticipated unfinished series was the Infidelity series by Alethea Roman. A super hot and sexy book was Sugar Daddies by Jade West. Read series Out of Order. I read Gripped Prescott series #2 by Joanne Schwim. Short and Satisfying, I read Thief, which is Breeding #3, and Mechanic, which is Breeding #2 by Alexa Riley. Read a book by a fangirled with the author. So let me explain that one. So the author to this book actually noticed and corresponded with me, and she fangirled over me as much as I fangirled over her. And that book was To See You by Rachel Blaufeld. An audiobook, The American Heiress by Daisy Goodwin. And ending, I'd Like to Change. That was with That Which Destroys Me by Kimber S. Dunn. Okay, so now that I've gotten through that, I probably sounded like a little bit of a robot through all that, but hey, I like to let you guys know what I read this year. Because I think for my year and wrap up, I'm not going to go through all of the books because that's a lot of books. I'm just going to do a slideshow for that one. But these, you guys can see, were so wide and so varied that it was just amazing. It totally helped me with all of my goals that I wanted to get through for 2016. And I got a lot of these suggestions for these books from other booktubers. And I really, really appreciate that. So I know that I have lists and lists and lists of books that I want to read next year. So I know that now I can, the 2017 Goodreads Challenge has 100 categories, and I'm super excited about that because there are so many that can fit into the books that I have gotten suggestions for and that I've watched videos for, and that I'm like, I really kind of want to watch that because, you know, this person seems to enjoy the book and the things that they said about the book were not spoilerish, and they were more than the synopsis, but it was also about how it made those, you know, people feel, and that's exactly what I was looking for. So I've gotten a lot of suggestions, and I can't wait to like dive into those. But that is the 2016 Goodreads Reading Challenge. I will link below the link for the challenge, for the Goodreads Challenge, because it just switched over from 2016 to 2017. It's going to remain the same group, but with the new 100 categories and sort of the laid backness of the group. The group was great. You didn't really have to correspond, or, you know, you didn't have deadlines. You could read as you wanted. You just got those categories, and you kind of had to go out and find books for them. If you found that you were having trouble with finding a book for a category, like I couldn't think of anything to read for Antarctica. Really? Book about Antarctica. Okay, so I went to the group and people had posted, hey, this book and that book and this book. So I picked Where Did You Go, Bernadette, because it looked like an interesting book. And it was an interesting book. It was a very, very cute and, interesting kind of book. But it had a lot to do with Antarctica. And you may ask, why did I choose Keeping London, The Fallen Hearts, number 2 by Ellie Wade for Asia? And that's because one of the characters is deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan in that book, and Iraq and Afghanistan are part of Western Asia, so it fit the category, so it got put in there. But yeah, super excited about that. So those are all my reading goals and a check-in of how I did. I did pretty good, I would say. How did you do on your reading goals for 2016? Did you complete your goals and get everything done that you wanted to do? Are you doing a video for it? Is this your first year? I mean, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys later. Bye!